Boom.
Damn.
All right. And we are here with the second interview for the Leaders in the New Economy. We are with Ryan Hendrickson, and this man is a holistic health practitioner and human performance optimization specialist.
We'll rock with that. Yeah, I am a holistic practitioner, and yeah, my background is in high performance exercise. So yeah, we kind of blend that together. So yeah, performance enhancement specialist, holistic health practitioner. It's awesome to be here with you, Ryan, and I'm excited for whatever you got to throw at me today. So I will do my best to add value to you guys, and I think I offer a little bit of a different perspective than a lot of people in the health and fitness field. I really want to make everything graspable for people. I want to make it, something that might actually inspire you, or at least create some reflection. I love it. One of my highest values is teaching, and I love to see that in people. So yeah, I'm glad you hit me up about this. This is pretty cool and exciting times that we're living in. I think we're really seeing a lot of big shifts.
Yeah, and that's why I'm doing this, and we're doing this is because what I see is that the economy, and just in the last week, aside from the virus and all the stuff, like the economy just changed in a dramatic way. What I think is even more drastically than 2008, and in an even quicker instant. And so we don't even know what the ripple effects of this are going to be. We're at the very beginning, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are a little lost and terrified and frightened, and are going to need to figure out a new way to make a living, to support themselves, to support their families, their sons, their daughters. And we have insights, we have wisdom, and I want to share that with all these people so that we can move through this in a smooth, healthy, and powerful way.
Love that. And I'm just going to come off, I don't mean to be curt or a little bit short, but what I've noticed, after working with executives in Silicon Valley, working with athletes, is that a person's health is their single greatest income earning attribute. It's like, when you lose that, you can't make the kind of living that you need to. It's physically impossible to do it from a hospital bed. It's physically impossible to do it from, coming home from work and having no energy for your kids or your side hustle. Or being locked in your house, like some of us might be for the next question mark, right? 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks. So, yeah. People are freaking out a little bit. I was just looking at one of the suppliers for natural health products that are pretty important, and they're on back order. Like all the stuff that people need to get healthy, it's all on back order, pretty much disappearing. So yeah, we are transitioning into a new economy. So, well, I know you wanted to pick my brain on a few things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we'll dive right in and help some of you who might be trying to collect the dots, trying to know where you're at. I always tell my clients that accountability is really taking account of where you are right now. It's just like, it's kind of like when you're at the shopping mall, and you've kind of been wandering around for a little bit, and you see that map of like all the stores and where everything is, right? And my intent for today and this broadcast is to give you kind of you are here on the little map, just so you can kind of get an idea of where you are, and not to rank yourself or compare yourself against others, but also to help you find out where that is, and what to do next, and how to start taking those measures.
Perfect. So the first thing that we're going to cover is optimizing your immune system during periods of high stress.
Mm.
I'm really excited to get into this topic. It's totally perfectly timely.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting about stress, I feel like in a lot of ways it's a boogeyman.
Mm.
It's a boogeyman. It's important for us to realize that there are benefits and drawbacks to everything. There would be a drawback of a day-long massage every day. There would be drawbacks to that, right? So anything that we can only see one side of is a trauma. You can only see one side of your stress. You'll be traumatized by it until you can learn to find benefits in it. And I think that's really what leaders in the new economy will do in order to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at what stress is. It is a response to a threat, either perceived or literal, right? So the response to stress is to cocoon down, is to divert resources from digestion to fighting and running.
Mm. And
one of the first physiological responses to stress that you're actually going to find is breathing. So the leading indicator of the body being under stress is a change in breathing. As Ryan takes like a super deep breath through his nose. Yeah, it's going to be a mouth breath. It's one of the first things that's going to happen at a perceived level of stress that's higher than a 5 out of 10, right? So like 0 is a day-long massage every day, and 10 is they are coming to kill me and my children, right? So the perceived level of stress is 5 out of 10 around the time when mouth breathing occurs. So, it happens if somebody runs up the stairs and they get a little bit winded, right? That's a mouth breath. So all of these stress signals are interpreted exactly the same by the body. So it's a threat, both real or perceived. So the first things that I invite people to consider is, well, is this really a life-threatening thing for me? And the stress response can be appropriate. Stress will trigger thousands of thoughts at any given time. And these thoughts may give you ideas that lead to your survival. But stress will always serve you. Stress always makes sense. But the way to do it is to kind of go back and say, all right, what are both sides to this stress? So that you can actually take you can learn to be high in the lows and low in the highs.
I like that.
I think that's really what we teach people the most. But you're going to see that leading indicator is going to be a mouth breath. And you'll notice this too, if you've ever worked in any kind of healing environment, one of the things is a deep sigh of relief. That deep sigh is actually the body coming back up from the sympathetic state, the fight or flight state, into the parasympathetic state. And actually yawning is very high on the digest and rest side of things. So I know I'm probably boring Ryan because it's not my job to scare the crap out of you guys about stress, but what actually happens in the state of stress to the body is the immune system shuts down. That means it's not very good at dealing with viruses, pathogens, bacteria. Okay, so the physiology is going to shift, mouth breathing is going to happen, the body's not going to get as good at repairing itself, and you're going to have one of the first things to go is actually sexual health. And one of the very last things to go is digestive health. So if you're having gut health issues as a consequence of stress, that shows us that you're very, very late into the chronic stress response. So
can you simplify that?
Sure. On your scale of 1 to screwed, if you are having some libido problems, like you're a male in your 30s, 40s, and you're not getting morning erections,
Mm-hmm.
or you're a female and you're just not as interested in sex, or it's painful, endometriosis, PCOS. These are all signs you're getting more and more advanced. So that, it's like, hey, I'm trying to survive here, right? I don't really need my reproductive abilities that much. Okay, cool. Then after that, it's going to start to show up in the skin issues, erythematosis, which is like, redness, rashes, heat. Then it's going to show up in joint pain, arthritic conditions. And then as you get more and more advanced, then it starts to go internal into the gut, then into the lungs, then into the heart. So this is like the hierarchy of the sacrifices that your body will make because of threats, perceived or real, in order to survive. So first, libido, and if you're dealing with gut health issues or anything cardiac, then panic attacks, things like this, gut health issues are very, very late, very advanced chronic stress response.
Okay, so what can people do?
Great question. People are just as different on the inside as they are on the outside. So, of course, it's like, this is really what we help solve for our clients, is to figure out, okay, these are the symptoms that your body's presenting, and here's how to get yourself back out, get back in balance, but do it in a way that doesn't add a ton of stuff to your to-do list. So I think the very first thing to do, if I could just drop in one action that a person can take now, is to take 3 deep breaths through your nose. Ask myself, is this a real threat? Is this a perceived threat? And then start to neutralize it. Move into a resourceful state. What can I do? And you'll get to that point where you get 3 or 4 things that you can actually do and actually take action on. You feel a sigh of relief. And then you can procrastinate on those things, and your stress levels will go back up because you're going to be beating yourself up for not taking action on the solution that you
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Oh yeah. So it's basically, it's just a matter of drawing. The opposite of stress is safety. I think this is something that not a lot of people realize about in our chronic stress world. The opposite of stress is safety. So we can feel unsafe internally, eat the healthiest food, go to bed from 10 to 6 a.m., wake up, journal, lift weights, all kinds of stuff, right? But if there's still internal pressure, intrinsic pressure, stress response is going to still be chronic in there as well. So I've seen most of my clients are people who eat the healthiest food, who've tried biohacking, they play sports, they're athletes, but they still have back pain, gut health issues, fatigue, and they're wondering why. So stress is really the tip of the spear. The early warning sign, okay, that's my breathing. Breathing changes. On the top of problem solving for the body, like number 1 highest priority is breath. So
that makes sense, because you can go without food for 30 days or longer. Water maybe a week or 2, but without breath, you're SOL, and you're kind of screwed after 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Best can do 6 or 7 minutes. So now that you guys kind of know where you're at as far as the stress response, it's okay, great. Now I found myself on the map. So I hope that gives you guys a little bit of clarity on interpreting some of the symptoms of the body and knowing where you're at on that scale.
Okay, so we have the map of stress and where people are. That a breathing technique to kind of check in and see if whatever stressful is real, Um, what else can be done to optimize the immune system and improve it?
Yeah. Well, really the approach that I take is to get the things that are harming the immune system out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people start with food and nutrition, and I don't necessarily start there. That for me is like number 2 or number 3 on the list. But food is one of those things that starts on the outside of the body and ends up on the inside of the body. Your immune system is actually triggered by foods. For example, sugar suppresses the immune system from 6 to 96 hours.
Mm.
So if a person has autoimmune disease where the body is attacking its own cells, oftentimes these are from things that are outside of the body, entering the body, and it has to attack and do damage control in order to clean up the mess. Mm-hmm. So our immune system is pretty cool. Lymphocytes, leukocytes, all the things that are there to glob up. They're like, they're kind of like border patrol, or they're kind of like, you know, they are kind of like border control. I don't know what your audience is like, but they're there to defend the gates. Yeah, they're there to defend the gates.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens oftentimes is, you know, when the immune system is triggered, it's going to shoot at just about everything. It's friendly fire.
Wow.
So to know what the triggers for your immune system are is key. You know, our specialty is in inflammation. Inflammation is the first stage of healing. It's just the problem is most people get stuck there for a really long time and they don't know why.
What is inflammation?
That's a good question. So inflammation is the immune system's reaction to getting something foreign out of the body. Gotcha. And it's also the process that's responsible for wound healing as well.
Why does stuff get puffy and like, you know, we call it inflamed?
Yeah,
how is that?
That's one of the signs. You've got color, dolor, rumor, tumor, which are pain, swelling, redness, heat, and loss of function. Those are the five components of inflammation that make up that response. Things get puffy and swollen and red to actually increase the blood flow to that area. The immune system attacks it and tries to get the damaged cytokines, the inflamed cells, try to get that out of there. It sends them to the kidneys, and then if everything works right, you pee them out and the inflammatory cytokines are gone. That's why a lot of times when people have flu-like symptoms, they have a lot of back pain, they have a lot of swelling in their lymph nodes, because the immune system is actually getting that stuff out.
Oh, wow.
One of the other signs of inflammation is a loss of function. So the body will actually create pain and create a loss of function in order to protect and stabilize the joints. Now, the interesting thing is that this doesn't only happen to muscles and joints.
What else does it happen to?
A person's decision-making process. Chronic inflammation actually atrophies the parts of the brain that are responsible for making decisions. So this is why we like to start off by, you know, okay, is this a real stress or a perceived stress? And how can I get to a neutral place with this so that we can move forward? Because the immune system has the same response to stress as it does to an injury, an allergy.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is what's happening for a lot of people when their systems are shutting down, they're having chronic fatigue, and they are lying in bed at 6 o'clock on a Monday wondering, like, why me? Do I really have to do another week like this? And a lot of people cope with it in different ways. You know, they'll cope with it, you know, some of them are obvious, right? Like, you know, drinking, smoking, partying, stuff like that. But some of them are not so obvious, like, you know, locking down and you know, kind of cocooning up and not wanting to get out of bed. Depression is a sign of neuroinflammation. Most of the chemicals that make people want to do things, serotonin, is actually manufactured in the digestive lining. So when you have depression, you actually are at really, really late stages of inflammation as well. So really, really late stages of chronic inflammation. So I hope that helps you guys kind of figure out where you're at with things. And, you know, I'm not like up on my high horse preaching about this. I'm only saying it because, you know, I've been working with clients for 11 years, but I've also walked through it myself. So, you know, I remember what it's like to go through and have all this medical testing done and have all this functional medicine testing done. And okay, great. I walked out of that doctor's office with a whole crap load of supplements and stuff that didn't make me feel better.
Yeah.
So when it comes to getting inflammation down, we want to know what is causing it in the first place. And that's going to be a little bit different for everybody. Perception of stress, food, those are the pretty important ones to start with.
Yeah. What you're eating, getting enough sleep, how stressed or like endangered do you feel, or safe do you feel?
I think these are kind of obvious, but I just want to say, for a lot of people, you know, what you're eating is of marginal importance as compared to what's eating you.
Elaborate?
Sure. So the perception of stress can be even more chaotic than eating some gluten.
Yeah, that makes sense, you know.
It's like what Leonardo DiCaprio said in the movie Inception, right? It's like the guy he's trying to coerce is sitting there and he's like, you know, eating dinner at this big boardroom table. And he's like, what is the most resilient creature on the planet? Is it a bacteria, a virus, a parasite? The guy's eating, he's like, and he goes, it's an idea. And I think this is ultimately something that's important to keep in mind of fearful times. Fear suppresses the immune system. We want to be able to respond and instead of react.
Wow. And that's a whole nother series of interviews and hours of topic, is like how to reduce that mental stress, that perception of stress, to lower that. And there's
Well, I'm not inviting people to create delusional fantasies in their mind about everything going to be okay. That's certainly not my intent at all. But I also want to, you know, I want to give you guys some tools. All right, you know, you can get to a point where you can be okay and you can move into a resourceful state. You can ask yourself, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
Because if you can't make a decision, it means that you are way, way, way along in that stage of inflammation, neuroinflammation, burnout. You know, 2/3 of people in high stress professions are burnt out.
Yeah.
And from their side of things, the burnout is really a moral injury. And a moral injury, a psychological injury, will turn into a physical one. Or if you have a strong identity linked to your physicality, like if I stopped, you know, being able to surf, or I stopped being able to work out, I would feel an injury on that too. And I would get exhaustion and a lot of the same things that my clients deal with as well. So I want to inspire you guys to stay strong, stronger than your stressors. It's really, the holes never go away. The stress never really goes away. The chaos in the world never really goes away. You just get bigger.
I'm definitely going to hit the gym after this.
Cool.
A little side note, I'm curious. I love sitting in the sauna. How does that relate to, you know, what we just talked about?
Yeah. I tend to personally, myself, avoid heat. Just that's my constitution. That's just the way my body works. I typically don't have a good response to the sauna.
Okay.
But for people who are hypermobile, We warm them up in the sauna instead of stretching. But a lot of people say, hey, it's great to sweat it out and to engage those detox pathways. But I've also seen it create stress on the kidneys and create diaphoresis, which is a sweating problem. Most people who have chronic inflammation, autoimmune problems, they are going to have circulatory problems as well. Mm-hmm. And one of the systems of stress is the ability to regulate the body temperature.
Yeah.
So your kidneys and adrenals are responsible for regulating your body temperature and your hydration. I tend to be on the side of not needing to drain that system anymore. I need to be recharging that system more than I drain it. That's myself personally. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my take on the sauna, I personally don't use it. But I also know that it can speed up the detox pathway for some. But if you have thyroid issues, Jorgensen, digestive issues, if you're actually, believe it or not, if you're dealing with any kind of back pain or kidney problems, that can also create some havoc as well. So, your kidneys are right on the other side of your back. Most lower back pain has an element of kidney and adrenal dysfunction as well. So what happened when I used to run a sports performance facility is I found that people had good days and they had really crappy days. And I was like, okay, what's going on when they're having good days? Like when their core is really strong, when their back muscles are firing correctly, when everything is working and they're just like stud killer shape. What were the things that they were doing more? Well, I came up with a system to figure out how much damage and inflammation is in the person's body at a given time. And I noticed that the more they were having problems with their internal organs, their kidneys, their bladder, their reproductive organs, their digestive issues, their liver, the more problems they were having with that, the weaker they were in the gym. So, yeah, what do I think about it? Hey, if it works for you, brother, all the power to ya. If you have lower back pain, it might not be the way to go. But again, I haven't done a full evaluation on you, Mr. Hunter. It would be hard for me to make those decisions. It would be a little bit reckless.
I gotcha.
Gotcha. Definitely. I personally don't do it, but also, I tend to be a little bit more on the hotter side. My body's like a pizza oven.
So let's talk about brain fog.
Ooh, brain brog. Yeah.
Brain brog.
Brain brog. Yeah, you know what? This is probably one of the biggest challenges for people, because remember we talked about, that continuum, right? If you're having cognitive impairment, you are quite advanced on the stage of chronic inflammation. Mm. So there's 7 stages of dementia. The most advanced stage of dementia is Alzheimer's or senile dementia. Now, most people who don't have their poop in a group, they tend to lose stuff, or they're in the middle of looking for something and they forget what they're doing completely. People who use a lot of cannabis and a lot of things that modulate the nervous system, or even people who use a lot of NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, SSRIs, a lot of pharmaceuticals have this as a side effect as well, is the person will be going along, they'll completely forget what they were doing or what they were looking for.
Wow.
That's actually stage 2 or 3 of 7 of dementia. So what we refer to as brain fog, forgetting things, mixing stuff up, forgetting, like what we call generic forgetfulness, right? Or being a little bit spacey, is actually stage 2 or 3 of dementia.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're 30, 40, 50, and you're late to everything and you can't remember where you put your phone, you're halfway to being an Alzheimer's patient. So Dr. Dale Bredesen proved that well, didn't prove, there's always theories, right? But Dr. Dale Brednison discovered that senile dementia was actually inflammation and insulin resistance in the brain.
Wow.
So kind of stacks on what we were talking about before. If you're having cognitive impairment, get help. It's super late.
So yeah, it's all part of the same continuum. It's basically
Yeah.
like the full system of the
Yeah.
body and mind.
People think that these are just like life problems or getting older. Guys, it really doesn't have to be that way. If you can measure something, you can improve something. And also, feeling is healing. You have that deep sigh of relief when you move up from that high stress state to where your body's starting to digest and rest. And I'd even take it a step further in business is, stress state, digest and rest state. If you go too far into the stress state, you're going to be humbled and put back into the rest state. It could be in the form of an injury. It could be in the form of a major life crisis. But we are always being brought back to homeostasis, always being brought back to balance, because that's the state in which we can live in. We're adaptation machines. I think that's what this group is about, right? It's about adapting to a new economy.
Yeah. Surviving and thriving.
Woo.
What would you say to like the single mother with two, teenage daughters that just lost her all her income? She's got to figure something out. What advice would you have for her?
About health, about
probably around health. Handling it.
Yeah. Actually, it's Friday, I was doing Q&A calls with clients, and I had someone who was in this same exact kind of boat. And how come, well, can I get a little bit more background? They just lost their income because of
buyers shutting everything down.
Yeah.
Offline. They have like an events. This is actually I spoke to did a Q&A with a single mom yesterday on Friday, and she's getting paid through events, and all the events are canceled, so all that income is now gone.
Yeah. Well, first we would want to sit down, take 3 deep breaths, start finding the opportunities until she can breathe again. I'd be thinking, what can I sell? What can I refinance? What can I roll up? Can I refinance this and pay off that so that my score could go up so I could get this capital? What can I do for my existing clients? Hey, I would want to get to a place of neutrality physically. Then that's going to come up with a plan to prepare yourself and get out. I don't necessarily know what that would look like for that person just yet.
Yeah.
But financial stress, it depends on how much you subscribe to this, but what I've noticed is that financial stress and physical stress are directly proportionate. You feel it in your body when your check bounces. You feel it in your body when you're on a date with somebody and your credit card comes back declined and you're eating ice cubes. You feel that.
Yeah.
So first thing we want to do is to neutralize that so that we can begin to shift into a resourceful state. So, I would say, Sherry, let's take 3 deep breaths, grab a pen and paper. Okay. How many contacts do you have in your phone? Awesome. Okay. In addition to event planning, okay, if somebody took that away from you, what else could you add to the market? right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really good at, I'm really good at cooking, or I'm really good at, marketing, or I'm really good with people, right? Or, my daughter was freaking out, and, she had a crisis this last winter, and we just got through it together, and I could help other parents who are dealing with, these types of family crises, whether it's depression or overwhelm or anxiety. Hey, leaders are going to start stepping up. Like, we really can't hide anymore. We can't hide online. We can't hide behind our computer screens and our phones we can't really hide. We can't afford to hide. We can't afford the luxury of hiding. So the advice is, if you feel that you're stuck, and this is unsolicited advice, I think I'd first ask for permission so I don't get a schmack. Because unsolicited advice, free advice is worth every penny. But I would be thinking along the lines of, hey, what can we do? How can we move into a resourceful state?
Yeah.
What are your other talents? What else do you have to share?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, cool. 50% off, 25% off all 2021 events. Hey, I could really use the help. Can we do a deposit? Can you bring me up on a retainer?
Yeah.
Right? Or is there a way to profit from the event being canceled? Let's do this digitally.
Yeah. And that's one of the intentions of this group too, is figuring out, creating the lens, the glasses for people to put on to see those opportunities that are everywhere. I was talking to Scott earlier today, and yeah, in the past, I didn't see as many opportunities. Was a little more scarcity, mindset. But now, with the perspective that I've cultivated, there's ways to serve and create value everywhere. And even if money no longer, like, whatever happens, like, let's say money's not working for some reason,
everybody's credit card is frozen or something,
it still comes down to, like, what value can we create in the community? How can I help somebody else get what they need, get their needs met, and that will come back.
I think this is a great distinction, especially as the world becomes smaller, people potentially move into quarantine or small communities. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm only smart enough to know I can't predict the future. But the reason why I value health in the way that I do is because, our impact, it's I before we always. It's our impact is health. Health is mastery of the personal. After the mastery of the personal and the physical is the mastery of the family, mastery of the community, of the state, of the country, of the planet, of the galaxy, and so on and so forth. Right? So this is a perfect opportunity to master self, to master family, to master community, and to think there. As online business owners, we start off like, okay, I want to help everybody in the country, right? But I might not have a stable platform in myself, in my family, in my health, in my physical body, in my family, and in my community. So when you send those emails out, you're in a stress response in yourself. And then when you get to the third, fourth, fifth level, sending it out to the whole entire country, everybody can feel your stress times 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a perfect opportunity to master personal mastery, health mastery, It's not sexy. Well, maybe it's a little bit, but it's not exciting as, you know, getting rich or something like that. But ultimately, it's one of the things that holds people back from making enough money, from connecting in their relationships, from serving their communities, is their health. You can't give away what you don't have. So what can I do is the question that I would ask that single mom with 2 daughters, for myself, for my family, for my community. And human beings, we have a lot of thoughts, we have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
I learned not too long ago to never underestimate a person's independence. You know, because as a health practitioner, you're like, why are you doing the things that hurt you? Right? But everything serves a purpose, everything serves a need, whether it's a biological need, an emotional need, financial need. If you can see that objectively, you can be okay with yourself to move forward into a resourceful state.
Yeah. Mm. Mm.
And
Thank
the
you.
fun thing is too, just to stack on, that's actually what gives you energy and mental clarity as well. Because you don't have all that stress muddying up the waters. You're not walking through the mall not knowing where you are. Hey, I want to get to Payless Shoes, but I'm like stuck here at Zales.
So there's a couple other, you know, places we could take this. We could talk about that hustle for health trade. You know, what the healthiest 1% of professionals know. What do you feel called to dive more into in this moment?
No, I think we really just kind of touched on actually what that hustle for health trade looks like. Because, you know, if a person is not of sound body and mind, their reflection, you know, their decisions are going to reflect that.
So let's back up. Does this mean trading your health in order to hustle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's like you'll eventually get to the point where you'll accumulate so much money that you'll need a health crisis to go and give it all away. Most people lose their life savings in the last 2 to 3 years of their life because of medical expenses.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying directly opposed from each other are financial and physical.
Yeah, I'd rather be wealthy and healthy.
You'll be mediocre at both if that's what you want, you know, and that's okay. That's okay, right? Like that's okay, because you'll be in humble places until you can move up to that next one. So once you can master your own health and your own finances, then you'll be able to share it with your family. Like maybe, I don't know what your familial situation is, but people will confide in you, and maybe even your family members will ask you your opinion on health stuff. Right? And then after that, you'll be around a community of other people who have your similar values. Rather that's in business or rather that's personal life. So if you don't have that, that shows you where you're at, right? Okay, cool. I mastered this in myself, and I mastered this in my family. But life is a game of means. It's a game of middles.
Middles, means.
Means, yeah. Averages. We play the averages.
How so?
Well, if somebody's having physical symptoms, 5 out of 7 days of the week, that shows us that they're extremely advanced into the inflammation process and they need to do something drastic. If it's just once a month, then, it's probably just a little tummy ache.
Gotcha.
Right? So we find extreme highs and extreme lows are what create chaos.
Yeah. And it ties in with the uncertainty, like not knowing what's going to come. Is it going to be an extreme high, or is it going to be another extreme low, or is it just another day? What's going to happen tomorrow?
When you can only see one side of something, that's what creates bipolarity. That's what creates the manic highs and lows. And a lot of business owners face that. We go back and forth between delusional optimism and resentment for our business and our work. It's just how it is, right? Because we can't share doubts.
Of course not.
Hell no. Right? But the next group of leaders will be the most humble, the most compassionate, the most poised, I believe. Again, I don't have a Ouija board.
Yeah.
But the people who are going to make it out of this are going to have humility, and they're going to be humble like none other.
So I like that. Why do you believe that that's going to be the case?
Well, there are some things that are getting outdated right now, right? We have new technology. Some things are getting restructured and reorganized right now. Things are going from the self to possibly a familial. Things are going up at a higher level now. Like, you're in Oregon, I'm in California. We're communicating face to face, nose to nose, right?
Yeah.
So it's really a more important time than ever to take care of yourself. And that will ultimately lead you to a place where you can share more with others.
Yeah, that's I think the meta underlying trend that's seems to be in this conversation is take care of yourself, because you are the if you're not taking care of yourself, then your ability to respond and serve is diminished.
Yeah. You can't carry out your mission like that.
Mm-hmm. Like I'll even notice, like, I was up late last night. We were speaking and I'm feeling it now. And so I'm like, man, I should have taken a longer nap before this or something, like, but I could feel the response of my body saying, hey dude, this isn't the time to do an interview. You should be in bed.
Well, what if, hey, I went to bed around the same time as you, because we talked at like 11:30, something like that, something insane. And I'm in my highest values right now to be able to share this message of health, of leadership, of entrepreneurship with you. So I'm like, let's go 4 more hours, right? Like I'm when a person's in their highest values, they're going to have a greater access to pleasure and a greater tolerance for pain.
Yeah, it's like the flip side of what you're saying, that the mental idea of stress, perception of stress, can be more harmful than bad food.
Yeah, absolutely. Or it can turn good food bad, maybe.
It could. My brain's not wrapping around that quite at the moment, but yeah, like in this time with these, these interviews, for example, like bring your wisdom and your insights and your tools to the people. Yeah, this was an idea just over 24 hours ago that I had, like, in the gym, but then it just was like, yes, this I need to do. And I got out of bed today with a vigor that, not a regular Saturday. It was just like, okay, I've got work to do, and this is meaningful work, and this is work that is impacting people.
Yeah. That's basically the secret to having more energy, to earning more in your business. If you guys made me go pick cauliflower, probably wouldn't want to go do that, right? Because it's not in my highest values.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a reason why I'm not a rock star or a professional surfer. Right? What is in your highest values is going to be closest to you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now we're getting this. This is very dear to my heart, because for me, I've found so much value in having what I call a mission, like an overarching purpose that I've chosen for my life. That's beyond just a goal, but it's the mission. It's like, I look at it in the morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm dedicating my life to that. And that is so powerful because, this can happen. The economy could just collapse, and a pandemic can sweep the globe, and that's chaos and that's uncertainty. But I still have my guiding light. I still know how I want to be showing up in the world and the kind of causes and purposes that I want to be moving forward. And so whatever obstacles come, or difficulties or challenges, okay, great. Let's figure it out. Let's move forward. I'm not stuck, focused right now today. What is the news saying? What is the news saying? There is a draw to that, but there's a bigger idea that is pulling me forward.
I think that's going to be huge. And in fact, the part of the brain where that lives is called the telencephalon, and that's actually what uses most of the body's energy.
Telencephalon?
Your telencephalon, your telos, your chief aim, it actually is what gives you energy and gets you up out of bed.
Wow.
Yeah. So, when I have people coming in for health conditions, and we're working on optimizing their brain health, their gut health, their joints, getting them strong, feeling younger, hey, that's like oxygen to, that feeds your soul.
Probably makes the
I do just want to, I want to stack one small caveat to that though.
Okay.
Last night we were talking about people who have their kids as their background of their phone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sometimes people feel like they need to have this big why, this big overarching mission, but they might not realize that their overarching mission and their highest values might be their kids, or it might be their, it might be their parents, right? They might be a big part of their mission, depending on what the values are. Mm-hmm. So then they compare to other people who are entrepreneurs, and they might be like a school teacher, and they really value kids, and they really value their children at home, and they value teaching, right? But then they compare themselves to mission-driven entrepreneurs and business leaders and stuff, and they beat themselves up about that. But their highest value is children.
Yeah.
So if you don't have business as one of your highest values, and you have maybe stability or security, remember the opposite of stress is safety. If you have that as your highest values, don't beat yourself up about it.
Mm.
Right? Because I would say, Ryan, business is probably one of your top 5 values, and it's mine too. That's why you're, doing what you're doing, helping people get their brick and mortars back. That's why you wouldn't be doing this, right, if it wasn't one of your highest values, right? So this is where a lot of the stress and stress perception comes from. It's I feel like I should be doing something, but I'm not. But the reality is you just haven't figured out how to link it to your highest values. And that's really our secret sauce.
But away the farm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you don't want to compare yourself to something that you're not. That will create a malignant despair and create an increase in perception of stress.
Yeah.
So.
And it takes time to really, at least for me, to suss out what that was for me. It's a multiple year long process. And then when I really decided, like, okay, I'm gonna get this down. I want to have a a 3x5 note card with my mission on it.
Yeah.
It still took me like 3 months of consistently like working on it to come to a place that was like, yeah, that makes me feel really good when I read that.
Yeah.
It takes time.
It's good. It's good to be on purpose. And, for leaders in the new economy, you guys have your purpose. It's for us to discover the opportunities, to discover the control and the order in this chaos, and to link it to your highest values, rather that's your children, rather that's organic farming, rather that's health, rather that's sports. What you love, you keep closest to you.
Mm. Okay.
Cool. And that is those are some sources of health and ways to modulate the immune system without even realizing it. If you guys are feeling a little bit different than when you started this conversation, just drop us a little comment, or just drop us a yes. And yeah, but this literally will modulate the immune system. When you heal something, you notice it. You feel a little lighter. It might be a sigh of relief. Okay. All right. Ryan, anything further? Anything you want to stack on for the people? I know we're just a couple minutes over, but
I think that's really powerful where we just took it. And
cool.
I think that's yeah, I'd say I'll stop the recording in a little bit. We can stay on for a few minutes and chat. But
hang like orangutans.
What?
I said, let's hang like orangutans.
Hang like orangutans. Yeah. The final words. I think you said it. How would you to sum it all up, cap it all off, put a cherry on top? What are the last words, Mr. Ryan?
Peace be with you. May the highest purpose be served, and may we all be returned to our innocence. And may God surprise us all.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Later, guys.